Presenting, ladies and gentlemen, the ultimate rematch of the century, Luffy versus Doflamingo. Oh, but don't be commenting yet on who would win, because this is not going to be a battle of fisticuffs. Oh no, this rematch is all going to be to determine who is the most fashionably dressed. Now, you might immediately give the edge to Doflamingo, because I know the guy is, he knows his fashion. But keep in mind, right now, Doflamingo's in level 6 Impel down. He's rocking the prison threads. That's probably going to hurt his chances a little bit. I'm not saying it will. He still's got his glasses and everything, but Luffy, he's got his Wano kimono. That might edge him out a little bit. And hey, keep in mind, Luffy, by the end of this arc, he might be rocking some samurai armor. Don't know where he would find it, but he managed to get his hands on a Nidai Katetsu within the first few chapters of the arc, so he might stumble upon, like, this is cursed samurai armor, and Luffy would immediately put it on, because of course. So, yeah, comment down below who'd win in that contest. I don't know why I decided to go that route with the intro. Okay, today's video is going to be all about what's going to happen beyond the Wano arc, alright? And this is something I've wanted to do for a while, but I can understand it might be a bit jarring because I could make one video one day that's all about how, yes, we're finally in Wano, the anime's here, it's been forever! And then the very next day I make a video that's like, alright, let's talk about how it's going to end. You know, a little bit disconcerting, you know, because it's like, Matt, we just got here in the anime, we've only been here for a year in the manga. We got lots of Wano left, guys. I mean, this is like walking into a pizza restaurant and like, give me the ultimate mega eater challenge for the pizza, the biggest pizza you got. And they bring this thing out. It's like the size of a monster truck wheel and just as thick. It's a year later and we're not even halfway through that pizza, okay? We got a lot of Wano left, all right? But I think the reason this has been weighing so heavily on my mind is, and I'm just gonna pose the question to all of you here, after the Wano Kuni arc wraps up, is the next big saga gonna be the last saga? Because I think it's because we've been building up to Wano since I think 2012 or late 2011. I know it was 2012. Right when Punk Hazard started, that's when we met Kinemon and Momonosuke, and that's the whole reason they went to Dressrosa, and then Zoe, you know, Totland was a little side thing, but now we're here. It was one of those things where it was like, okay, you know, they're in Dressrosa right now, this is a really long arc, they're in Totland right now, but we still have Wano left. Whenever you would think about the ending of One Piece, it's like, oh, well, we still have Wano. We're not even in Wano yet. You know, once we get to Wano, then we'll worry about it. Well, we've been in Wano for a year now. I know it doesn't seem that long, but it has been, right? And you start thinking about how Oda really structures his story. You know, when the crew first got to the Grand Line, he started it off with a big saga. You know, the Alabasta saga. They met Vivi at Reverse Mountain, or Miss Wednesday at Reverse Mountain, and then Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island. They were all building up to the big climax of that saga, Alabasta. Okay? And then you have the big thing with Enies Lobby and everything, but after Enies Lobby, you pretty much had Fishman Island. Like, Fishman Island, that's gonna be our next big goal. They get sidetracked at Thriller Bark, and then the Sabaody, and then the Straw Hats get separated, then Marineford, and it's like, holy crap, when are we gonna get to Fishman Island? It takes forever, but eventually they get there, and then right after Fishman Island, we set up Wano. So I'm thinking, like, the way the story's going and the numbers that Oda has given us, because, you know, whenever Oda does his interviews, he gives us percentages on how much of the One Piece story is complete. Now, I do that in air quotes because part of me thinks Oda might be trolling us a bit. Just a bit. Like, when he says the story is, like, 60% done, that obviously doesn't mean, like, oh, we're only 10% done, like nothing ridiculous like that. Clearly the story is, you know, winding down from where it was. But, you know, I think he might be fudging the numbers, or he might not be putting like a bunch of thought into it. He might just be giving us like something off the top of his head, you know. Like in 2012, he said the story was 60% completed. And then in 2016, 4 years later, he's like, we're only about 65% completed. And then last year, right around this time, in July of 2018, it was 80% completed. So I feel like if I was Oda and people were just asking me like how much of the story is done or how much of it was left, I would troll people a little bit. Maybe I would let my editors know and my close friends and family and everything how much of the story is done. Like Oda, I'm sure, has at least told his editors and people like, all right, I'm planning on doing Wano, and then I'm going to do this and this and this, and then that's going to be the end of the story. All right, I'm sure he's done something like that, right? But when he's doing interviews, and I'm sure maybe Oda gets recognized on the subway subway every now and then in Japan. And like, hey, Oda-sensei, how much of One Piece is done? And he's just like, oh yeah, we got a good 15 more years, buddy. And he's walking down the street and he's like, Oda, how long we got left? 8.5 years. He's just throwing out random numbers, you know? He's Oda. He's like, what are you gonna do? Right? So you really can't take that like super seriously. I usually look at those numbers and I adjust for like a 5% in either direction, you know? So, you know, he said it was pretty much stated that the time skip was like halfway done. And the time skip was in 2010. That was 13 years into serialization. We were halfway done with this. So if we're just gonna go by that, 13 years from then, 2023 or around 2023, that'll be the next half of the story. That'll be the end of One Piece. Now, does that mean concretely it's gonna end in 2023? Of course not. Does it mean it's gonna end earlier than that? Does it mean it's gonna end later than that? We don't know. I'm just saying, you know, if that's the halfway point, you know, it's crazy too when you think about it. Like, it's been 9 years since the time skip. That is insanity. I remember reading the time skip chapters, you know, like I was just starting senior year of high school when they were getting back from that break. There was like a month-long break in between the pre-time skip and post-time skip, and I remember when it came back and I was super excited. It's long gone now. I've long since deleted it, but I actually filmed a reaction to me reading the first chapter after the time skip, and I wish I still had it because I would upload it, because it's actually been, that would have been, this was like in August or September of 2010. That would have been like the first piece of anime content I would have ever filmed, or one of the first. But you're never going to see it because it's completely gone. All I did was talk about Boa and Nami's boobs through most of it, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's been a big chunk. It's been almost a decade since the time skip. So yeah. Now, what I did here was I looked at all of the different islands that the Straw Hats like absolutely need to visit. You know, islands that have had a lot of buildup, you know, and I'm not just talking about islands that have just been randomly mentioned off the cuff. You know, there's been plenty of islands like that. Like, for example, that, the Land of Ice, you know, that place, that Arctic area, that it was the place where Oars died. That was mentioned. It was also the place, it might be the same place where Don Chinjiao kept all of his, the treasure from the Hapo Navy. It could have been the same place, like a Land of Ice. Just because that place was mentioned doesn't mean the Straw Hats have to go there. Same deal with a lot of other islands in the New World, like Reijin Island. Remember Reijin Island? I remember Reijin Island. I would like them to go there, but just because it was mentioned doesn't mean they have to go there. I'm talking about, like, islands that tie into major plot points. And it's like, okay, well, you know, where do they have to go after Wano? They absolutely need to go to these places. I'm like, okay, well, we have Raftel. That's pretty obvious. You know, they have to go there. That's where the One Piece is located. Also, the last island that the log pose points to, that's an island that was mentioned by Inuarashi back on Zou, because they were talking about the road poneglyphs, and they were saying that, yeah, you get the 4 road poneglyphs, they point to Raftel. However, the islands that you're just using, you know, with the log pose method, just arriving at those islands are eventually going to reach a point where there's the last island in the New World that the log points to, and it's on that island where you would normally learn about the road poneglyphs, but since you're learning about them now on Zou, that destination's kind of redundant. Even so, Inuarashi still told Nami, it's cool, just keep on following the log, you're a wonderful navigator, and I'm sure you'll find your way. So, the way I took it is that, yeah, the Straw Hats are still going to follow that path. That's still their own adventure, you know? And it's just whatever they find along the way, they find along the way, but they are still going to be heading to Last Island. So that's another location. Elbaf, of course, that's something that's been tied into the story even longer than Wano. Wano was first mentioned at Thriller Bark, but we didn't really start getting that Wano feel, that Wano hype, until Punk Hazard. Elbaf, on the other hand, that's been mentioned since all the way back at Little Garden. And then again, when we got to Eni's Lobby with Oimo and Kashi there, the big one recently was, of course, Big Mom and her whole backstory, and Mother Caramel. Hyrudine is a member of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. He's from there, making the new giant warrior pirates. Loki's existence was mentioned, and we only saw him in silhouette. Probably Odin, who is like the king of giants. He's probably there. So Straw Hats definitely got to go to Elbaf. But beyond that, I can't really think of any other island that, like, they absolutely, like, you know, based on the story, based on the foreshadowing and the setup, like, they have to go there. I mean, I could always throw out the moon as a possibility, but I don't see the Straw Hats literally going to the moon. I mean, I would love that, but I don't want to get that tied in, like, my own, you know, preferences tied into something that they're absolutely going to do. So really it just comes down to the last island that the log post points to, Raftel, of course, and then you got Elbaf. Also, the Ancient Kingdom that was mentioned by Clover. However, I also looked at it another way, and I'm like, well, it's entirely likely that that ancient civilization, whose name we are not aware of yet, Clover was about to speak the name of it before Spondine shot him, you know? It's possible that ancient civilization could be Raftel. Could be one and the same. And going along that logic, I'm just going to throw this out here. Is it entirely impossible that the last island in the New World that the log points to, couldn't that be Elbaf? I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be, right? So you just follow the log post, and yeah, it leads you to just one island, and that island is Elbaf. Actually, if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, because for one thing, that island, Elbaf, is not really allied with the world government, so it's not like they would have easy access there, so, you know, there might be some knowledge about the road poneglyphs on Elbaf, you know, it's an ancient civilization, the giants, they've been around forever, you know, so if you're gonna go there to learn about something from the prehistory, I mean, that makes sense. Also, think about it from just, like, a journey perspective, like, you just made it through this freaking just gauntlet of all these horrible, like, giant monsters and weather patterns and all these islands, all these things trying to kill you. You made it through the first half of the Grand Line, then you get to the New World, and you're fighting through the New World, and the last island you arrive at that the log points to is you get to Elbaf, which is like Valhalla. You know, it's like, this is the land of giants. You have done well on your journey, you adventurers. Here, drink some ale with Odin, the king of the giants, in our mighty hall. You are now truly great warriors of the sea. That would make sense, and that would be a great way to bring Usopp's dream to reality. Like, they made it through freaking the New World. Yeah, there's still a bonus level. There's still something them to do after Elbaf, but, you know, the Elbaf being the last island, I'm for that. But the only problem is, if you look at it that way, with Raftel being the ancient kingdom that Clover spoke about, and Elbaf being the last island, that means there's only 2 major islands that the Straw Hats have to visit. So that's, you know, after Wano, of course. But, you know, that's also kind of like, well, you know, that's going to make the story wind down, you know, if it's less places for them to visit, of course. So, yeah. Now, in terms of Wano itself, I've mentioned this, it feels like a million times, but yeah, even if Act 2 were to end, like, this week, it won't, probably, but even if Act 2 were to end this week, I think Act 3 is going to be the longest out of all of them. Like, if Act 3 was, like, a year long, that would make perfect sense to me, because Act 4 and Act 5 are the declining actions in Kabuki plays, so they're really quick. Honestly, if Act 2 goes on a little longer, and then Act 3 lasts, like, a year or over a year, screw it. By the way, just as reference, Dressrosa, which was the longest arc in One Piece, around 100 chapters, almost 100 chapters exactly, was around 2.5 years. That's how long Dressrosa was, okay? And we're only 1 year into Wano, so, I mean, I like to think Wano is going to be as long as Dressrosa, if not longer than that, so we still got another 1.5 years if we go by that logic. It might not be. It might be 90 chapters. It might be close, but no cigar, but I really feel like with all the hype that's been for Wano, and obviously Oda is really excited to be in Wano, I think Oda is going to try his damnedest to make this the definitively longest arc in One Piece. You know, even if the other arcs after that, even if the Elbaf arc is not as long, even if the final arc is not as long, I mean, Wano being the longest arc in your story, that would be a pretty good accomplishment, right? So, if we're just gonna go by that logic, we got like another 1.5 years left of Wano, but yeah, Act 2, that's winding down soon, Act 3 is the longest, that's going to include the big final battle, the raid on Onigashima, all that stuff. I could see Act 4 just being a few chapters long, the Straw Hats, you know, they've returned Wano to a state of peace, they kicked out Kaido and Orochi, Momo takes over as the new shogun or the new emperor, you know, and they have like Kinemon as his advisor and all that stuff, you know, all the factories get torn down, the Straw Hats have their big epic banquet in the castle hall and everything like that. And honestly, I could see Act 5 being one chapter, because the last act in a kabuki play is the quick resolution. Like, oh, okay, you defeated the giant dragon. That's great. Get it going, okay? And the Act 5 is just the Straw Hats getting on the Sunny and sailing away, and then that's it, okay? So, what after that? Well, I would like them to go to Elbaf pretty much right after that. I think the Straw Hats after Wano, though, after that big adventure, they're gonna deserve a vacation. You know, just like, can you just give them an island where it's just, there's nothing dangerous on the island, no past enemies out to have a vendetta against the Straw Hats, no giant monster, no Davy backfights or anything. Foxy's not gonna be like, ah, Straw Hat, welcome to Vacation Island, I will take you out. That was already a filler, by the way. The Spa Island filler, that already happened. Can we just get, like, a little mini arc after Wano where the Straw Hats go and chill out at a beach for a few chapters and just relax? You know, Zoro's got a lot of beer, Luffy's got a lot of beef, and everyone's happy, and then like, alright, that was a good few days of relaxation. Let's keep heading. Let's go to Elbaf now, guys. Come on. Alright. So, there's that, right? Now, just because the Straw Hats might only have a few islands to go to after Wano, that doesn't, of course, mean the story, it's going to be shorter. It doesn't mean like, oh, okay, well, you only have Elbaf and Raftel, so what, like, I don't know, 50 chapters each and we're done? No, of course. Like, these arcs are going to be really long, and eventually when we get to the final arc, I mean, that one's going to be huge, right? So I would say One Piece, if it ended in the next 5 years, I would be surprised by that. You know, or 5 years or less, I guess I should say. I would be very surprised by that. But beyond 5 years, I think that's a little bit more like, okay, well, 6 years it ends. I could maybe see that. But 5 years, I think, is a safe estimate, at least on my end there, right? You know, you're gonna have to find time to bring to resolution all of the Straw Hats' dreams. And not just the Straw Hats' dreams, but a lot of the mysteries that we learned about the One Piece world up until this point. About devil fruits, the ancient weapons. Like, Oda has certainly planned this out for a while. At least I hope he has. So I don't really think this is going to be a thing where it's like, oh, we find out about all this stuff at once. I would really want him to go, like, slow and steady with this. Like, they go to Elbaf, and they have that epic moment, and then Usopp's dream is realized, and there's like a whole chapter, or multiple chapters, just focusing on Usopp's dream coming to fruition. And the same deal with a lot of the other Straw Hats. Like, can we have a whole chapter on Sanji, or multiple chapters, just about him finding the All Blue? I want this to feel deserved. I don't want this to just be like, you know, it's like, oh, okay, all your dreams have come to realization in just one chapter of the story. Good job, that's great. Now we need to go over here. Of course, we need to resolve the things with Blackbeard. Oh, and by the way, I even thought about maybe, well, they went to Kaido's territory, and they went to Totland, that was Big Mom's territory. Are they going to go to Blackbeard's territory for something? Unless Blackbeard has, like, you know, taken over Elbaf or something, like they find out that Elbaf is now in Blackbeard's territory, something like that. I mean, that could lead into something there. But are the Straw Hats going to go to, like, that Beeve Hive island that Blackbeard has his base set up? I don't really see that going down. I mean, Wano is a pretty big country. Totland is a huge archipelago. But when it comes to Blackbeard's home base, it just seems to be like one main island where he stays on. It doesn't seem to even be that real big compared to like Wano. So I don't really see the Straw Hats going there after this. The Straw Hats facing off against Blackbeard, of course, but I always imagine that would happen at the 11th hour when they get to the final island, or they get to Raftel, I guess I should say. I could see that going down there. So, yeah, even if it's just Elbaf, and then right after that, they start trying to figure out, maybe they find the last road poneglyph on Elbaf. I mean, that could be another place it could be that's kind of removed from the world, and people really can't come and go there. The world government certainly can't come and go there as they please. So if that's a place where it could be hidden, that makes perfect sense to me. And then after that, they immediately go to Raftel. You know, you got a lot of stuff to unpack with that. Like, I can even imagine there might be, like, an arc before Raftel, just as, like, a pregame for Raftel. You know what I mean? Like, I could imagine Oda doing this. Like, they're sailing to Raftel, and they see it on the horizon, and then that chapter ends, probably a two-week break after that, of course, and then we go into this little mini arc where we just cut to various scenes all over the world. We cut to Marie-Joie. We cut to, you know, Impelled Down to see what's going on with, like, Dofi and the prisoners there. We cut to the locations in the East Blue where all the Straw Hats are from, the Grand Line, Drum Island, where Chopper's from, and all that stuff. We kind of cut all over the world. We just take a few chapters to really just soak in all of the stuff that's been set up and now going to be resolved in this Raftel arc. You know, like, it just takes time to, like, okay, remember that? Oda's like, okay, remember this character? Well, you know, it might be setting something up for now. We haven't touched upon him in a few years, but we cut back to Fishman Island. It's like, okay, well, maybe this is going to tie in, you know, as Shirahoshi with Poseidon. You know, I could see doing, like, the pre-game arc before Raftel. Then we cut over to the, you know, Marine HQ where they're getting ready to, like, raid it or something, and then we get to Raftel, and it's just a huge war, you know, it's the Throne Wars, as Dofi put it, right? I don't really see the Straw Hats having another big adventure, the likes of which with Wano and with Alabasta, in between Wano and Raftel. I just don't see that, unless something else during the Wano arc sets up, you know, like, where they're gonna go. Like, maybe Blackbeard, you know, has a certain island he took over, and the Straw Hats have to go there afterwards to help a friend out. Maybe somebody they knew back in the day, you know, is being held captive by Blackbeard, and they need to go rescue him, because you just never know where the plot's gonna deviate. You know, once again, going back to Fishman Island, we thought, all right, well, we're going to Fishman Island. All right, well, we got stuck in Thriller Bark, but now we're going to Fishman Island. All right, we're at Sabaody. Okay, of course, we got to get our ship coded. We can't, all right, now we're going to Fishman Island. And then the whole thing got derailed. Not really derailed, that's kind of a negative connotation, but we got diverted from that. We're going to Amazon Lily and Impelled Down and then Marineford and all that crap, you know, like, and so then we finally get back on the track. It might be something like that, like, we're leaving Elbaf, we're heading to Raftel. Oh, wait, no, we have to go over here now. Now we have to go over here now. But just with the time frames and the percentages that Oda has laid out for us, and trying to factor in how long I think Wano is going to be, after Wano concludes, we're most likely going to be within the last 10% of the story. And that's going to be definitely a lot of time to work with, but, you know, that's going to be it. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think about this below. More than anything, let me know about how you feel about Elbaf being like the last island in the log pose, because I was thinking about that, and that's not something I really considered before, but I think it makes sense, and the last road poneglyph would be there. Let me know about some other major islands, like, whoa, Tekking, you forgot about this Sky Island they have to go to, or Sniper Island. Tekking, they have to visit Sniper Island before the end of the story. I mean, come on, right? Okay, so there's that one, of course. I should do a geography is everything on Sniper Island. In fact, yeah, hold off on that. Okay. But yeah, let me know what you think about that below. And also, let me know what you think about my hat hair. Because I think it looks rather ridiculous. So I'm just going to kind of do this maneuver. And yeah, that looks nice. That looks good. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out.